If you've ever struggled to lose a few pounds, just wait till you see what some animals have to endure as they battle through nature's toughest weight loss programs. We're counting down the top 10 most extreme dieters in the animal kingdom to find the animal that lasts longest without food. Discover that sometimes you can have your cake and eat it too when dieters are taken to the most extreme. Earth is a planet of extremes. Extreme places and extreme animals. But some animals are more extreme than others. Join us as we count down to find the most unusual, the most extraordinary, the most extreme. Most humans are happy and healthy eating 3 meals a day. But when we start eating more and exercising less, we get fat. In America alone, an estimated 127 million adults are overweight. And while obesity is bad news for humans, in the natural world, fat is beautiful. Some animals have to pile on the weight as a way of storing energy. That's because, unlike humans, animals can't always eat when they want. As we search for the creatures that suffer from the world's worst hunger tantrums, we'll discover some truly extreme dieters. Our first contender has more hunger tantrums than any other animal. If it doesn't eat every 2 hours, it could starve to death. The hummingbird is number 10 in the countdown because it eats 60 meals a day and yet it never gets fat. All that food fuels the bird's racing metabolism. A hummingbird's heart can beat more than 20 times a second when its wings are beating at more than 2,000 revs per minute. That's why a hummingbird must visit up to 1,000 flowers a day. It drinks almost twice its weight in nectar. That's the equivalent of a man having to eat more than 200,000 calories a day. That's about 77 kilograms of hamburger. Humans have far more trouble burning off extra calories, especially when we love drinking a different kind of sugary water. Americans love their soft drinks. They consume more than 190 liters of carbonated soft drinks per person every year. Just one can contains the equivalent of about 20 teaspoons of sugar. This is nectar for the hummingbirds of human society, the American teenager. A typical teen consumes more than 2 cans of soft drink every day. But unlike hummingbirds, teenagers don't burn off all those extra calories. Let's imagine that a teenager drinks just 1 too many cans of soft drink for his energy requirements. That's 150 calories more than he burns each day. If this trend continued every day for a year, he would have put on 7 kilograms of fat. So perhaps it's not surprising that in the last 20 years, the proportion of overweight American adolescents has doubled. Of course, the hummingbird has no such problems. Its high-performance racing metabolism burns energy almost as fast as it can refuel. That's why the hummingbird is said to be only 2 hours away from starvation. But as our countdown continues, we'll discover that not all animals are like this frantic feeder. In fact, some creatures have found ways of surviving on a diet that's so extreme, they may not eat for years. Most people know that their body has lots of places to store fat, especially if you can't resist having just one more chocolate. So if you've ever dreamed of being able to eat as much as you like and never get fat, then check out our next contender. It's one of the smallest mammals in the world, the shrew. It's almost constantly looking for food because, like the hummingbird, it needs to eat vast amounts just to fuel its incredibly fast metabolism. The shrew is number 9 in the countdown because it can starve to death in only a few hours. One species is so hungry that it has to eat up to 3 times its own weight in food every day. No human can eat like a shrew, but one man is determined to give it his best shot. Meet Eric Badlands Booker. He's a competitive eater. Eric is a 180-kilogram eating machine. He swallowed 49 glazed donuts in 8 minutes and 29 and a half hot dogs in only 12 minutes. It may sound like a strange diet, but it's just another day at the office when you're part of the International Federation of Competitive Eating.
Get right on.
Like any other sport, Eric has to undergo some rigorous training.
It's the sweet science of competitive eating. That's what I always say. You know, there's a method to the madness. Believe it or not, my health has actually gotten better when I became a serious competitive eater. Basically during like the off season, I eat a lot of vegetables, stay away from the fried foods. My cholesterol went from like over 200 to 150, and I think that attributes to, me staying hungry and staying focused.
But not even Eric can compete with the animal that's number 9 in the countdown. After all, if he was like a shrew, he'd be eating 24 hours a day just to stay warm. That's because a shrew is so small it loses heat incredibly fast. It keeps warm by burning up calories with its racing metabolism, which is why the shrew is a small animal with a really big appetite. Our first 2 contenders have been on a real seafood diet. When they see food, they eat it. But dining can be difficult when you're trapped in one of the coldest places on the planet. And what munching maniac became known as the Great Masticator? Our countdown of extreme dieters continues in the Sahara Desert. Enter this land of scorching sand and blistering heat without food or water, and you'd be dead in a day. Living in a land of sand forces our next contender onto an extreme diet. But not eating for a week is no problem when you're a camel. For thousands of years, people have been crossing arid wastelands on the animals known as the ships of the desert. They don't need to refuel because they carry their supplies on their back. It's a portable pantry that's full of fat. A well-fed camel can have up to 36 kilograms of blubber in its hump. The camel is number 8 in the countdown because it can go for 2 weeks without eating, simply by burning all the fat in its hump. To refuel, the camel can't afford to be fussy. Those thick, floppy lips are remarkably tough and can pluck even the prickliest plants. A camel will eat anything, even if it means picking over carcasses or eating fish. Everything that enters the mouth is ground up by powerful molars before heading down to the camel's 3-chambered stomach. And then it comes back up again. The camel regurgitates half-digested food because chewing it twice gives double exposure to digestive enzymes in saliva. Humans also need to chew their food, but early last century, one man took chewing to the extreme. Self-taught nutritionist Horace Fletcher was known as the Great Masticator because he advocated chewing every mouthful 100 times. He believed that chewing maximized nutrient extraction and also inhibited overeating. Fletcher believed that you should spit out any food that couldn't be chewed into a liquid. Since this removes the dietary fiber so necessary for bowel function, perhaps he should have been called the Great Constipator. A dieting dromedary has masticating down to a fine art. It will chew anything it can wrap its lips around, even its owner's turban. It may not seem very appetizing, but it's a banquet compared to some of the diets coming up in the countdown. Our last 2 contenders sometimes bit off more than they could chew, but as our countdown continues, we'll discover that living in the world's largest freezer is tough when there's no groceries in sight. And would you lose weight if you had a glass of heavy cream for breakfast every day?